Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video, we are going to cover the contents of my summertime backpacking gear loadout. Now if you've seen any of my prior backpacking gear loadouts, you may realize that I'm not necessarily considered to be an ultralight backpacker. You probably wouldn't even consider me to be a lightweight backpacker. You know what? Fact of the matter is, I'm definitely not lightweight, but I've been continually working on my system, trying to refine it to the best equipment that I can afford, getting lighter and lighter when I can and where I can, but at the same time also trying to maintain a level of comfort so while I'm out in the field and out enjoying the mountains, I can actually enjoy myself with some of the things that, quite frankly, I just want to do and I just want to have with me. So could I save some weight here? Of course I could, but do I necessarily want to? Nope. This is what I want to carry, this is what I want to have with me, and this is how I want to enjoy my time while I'm out in the mountains. So the first thing I want to talk about is what I chose as a bag system, and yes, I do mean a system. This particular frame here is a Kuiu frame, and I have based my entire backpacking system on this Kuiu frame. So my intention this year is to carry the Icon Pro 7200 bag, but also have with me the Ultra 1800. The reason why I'm going to do that is many of the locations that I go, we will hike in, set up a camp, and then choose to spend the rest of the day or maybe the next day summiting a mountain, and I do not necessarily have to have all the rest of the gear with me. So I will use this 7200 to get me up into my camp, and then I will swap over to this Ultra 1800 as a day pack. And this frame does accept multiple different bag sizes, and in that regard I chose to go with a full featured bag, being the Icon Pro 7200, to help me get all my gear in a managed fashion up to my camp, and then strip it down to the Ultra 1800, which is a smaller 30-liter pack to get me through my day excursions. Now getting into my shelter system, this year I will be trying out this Big Agnes Triangle Mountain UL3. This is a 3-person tent, but I tend to most likely use it either by myself or with one other person, and I also have the footprint. So I have done a full review on this, at least in terms of my initial impressions and sort of like a what you'd call almost a tabletop review. I mean, I have not yet brought this out into the field, so this will be my first season using it, but it's reasonably lightweight, all things considered, packs down into a pretty nice profile, and is a great tent option, and I'm very much looking forward to using this year. For my sleep system, I will be using a lightweight down comforter. I have here a Klymit Inertia XL ultralight sleeping pad and 2 very small inflatable pillows. Now this is, I guess, a little bit in regards to some people going to be considered overabundance or luxury. Fact of the matter is, I just quite frankly want to be comfortable and I want to enjoy my night's sleep. There's nothing worse than going into the mountains where you're already having a little bit of a hard time getting a good quality night's sleep and then just being completely uncomfortable. So for me to have a little bit of extra in the way of an extra pillow or the sleeping pad is definitely a plus for me. Now in addition to my tent, I'm opting to carry a small lightweight parachute hammock. The reason being, I go to a lot of very scenic places, and the last thing I want to be doing is, I don't know, find myself stuffed in my tent and not able to really get a really great view. And a lot of times I just want to enjoy my coffee and sip on it while I relax, and I need a good place to sit. So to carry a lightweight parachute hammock does not add a ton of extra weight. It's just another one of those little luxuries that I know I'll greatly enjoy while I'm out there. Now for this season, I'm trying a different cook system. So this is my cooking and eating system. I have this Zoxy outdoor camp stove. This is something that I've recently reviewed. I've yet to take it out into the field. I'm greatly looking forward to using this out in the field for the first time, and I'm going to do so while I'm out in the mountains. I think this should be definitely an ample cooking system for me, capable of cooking anything that I'm going to need, and has just a little bit of flexibility. Now in addition to my camp stove, I'm going to bring simply my long-handled titanium spoon, a lightweight stainless steel cup, and these little Fozzils Bowls. These are extremely lightweight. In reality, I probably don't need all three. I mean, 2 would be more than enough, and 1 would probably actually work just fine, but these barely take up any space. They're extremely lightweight, and I just carry 3 just to have a little bit of versatility if I need it. Now for my water, I will be bringing a 3-liter Platypus hydration bladder, 2 very small packable additional Hydropack Seeker 2-liter bags. Now I'm going to use these for a couple of different purposes. While I'm gathering water, I'll be able to filter straight into these. That's pretty much the idea. I'm not intending on filling these and carrying them in my pack. It's just a way for me to gather water and to get it prepared when I need it. Now taking a look at this Platypus system, this does have these clips that hold on the top of the water bladder. I will have one of these simply to keep this closed and tight, and another one with me in case I decide I want to do something like, say for example, lash this to a tree. So if I wanted to, I could take my water bladder and hang it on a tree with ease and not worry about, you know, keeping one of these and having to lash it on and take it off and all that stuff. So once I get to my base camp, in reality I can just take one of these and hang it up, and then that leaves my bladder versatile, so I can either put it in my pack, take it with me for my day trip. If I need to go and fill it up, I can do that. But just to have 2 of these little clips works out pretty nice. And for my filter system, I do have the Survivor Filter Pro. This is the filter that I've used for the past couple of seasons. It's been pretty good to me, and so I'm going to continue to use it. I have not necessarily gotten a new filter, so this is a couple of seasons worth of use, but as I mentioned, it's totally adequate, does a great job, and I don't mind it even though it's a little bit on the larger side. Now for my first aid purposes, this is just slightly overkill, but it is a very comprehensive kit. You can see a video if you're interested in looking at me actually fabricating this kit and all the different things that I've put into it. But as I mentioned, it is a very robust kit. It has all kinds of different supplies and gets me all the way basically down through my toothbrush and toothpaste, gets me hand sanitizer, has different creams, has some sunscreen if I need it, different bug sprays, things like that. And it really has a lot of the overall basic necessities that you really should have with you if you're hitting the mountains. One of the areas I'm really trying to cut back this year is on what clothes I carry. I find more times than not I have way more than I need. Fact of the matter is, for a one-night trip, I pretty much just need a single change of clothes, and that's what I've pretty much whittled my kit down to. Now here you see the contents of what I had inside this bag. What I do carry beyond that one change of clothes is always something to potentially keep me warm. So in that regard, I do have a pair of merino wool lowers and a Poly Pro upper long sleeve, and basically that's just something to keep the cold off my body, help me stay a little bit warmer if I need to. And I do couple that. I generally bring my down jacket. This is a lightweight Rab down jacket, and I will bring that with me just to make sure. I mean, you never know in the mountains what's going to happen, and I don't want to find myself cold, so I always bring a little bit just to keep me warm if I need it. But in terms of the clothes and the change of clothes, I pretty much just bring a Poly Pro pair of underwear, 2 pairs of wool socks, Poly Pro shirt, and my lightweight hiking pants. And that will pretty much get me by all of my needs. And now in addition to that, I do happen to have here a poncho. I'm not sure if this is something I would necessarily carry. I would make the decision between this and a lightweight rain jacket, but just to have something to help me stay dry I think is important. But I don't know, it's one of those things, it's kind of up in the air. I could go either way with this. So what I found in the past is that I've gone a little bit heavy with my tools. I've tended to carry a knife that's way overkill for the backpacking needs. And this kit that I'm carrying now is a little bit of a compromise, and in that regard, I mean, I generally like to try to go to a place if we can where we can have a fire, and I want to process wood, and this year I want to do some carving. So this to me is just a little bit of a compromise. So in that regard, I'm going to carry my Gransfors Bruk small forest axe, this Silky Gomtaro saw. I have here a Mora stainless steel knife, and also a hook knife for potentially making either a cup of bowl or a spoon. For my fire making needs, I do like to have some options. So I have a small fire kit here. It's nothing that's really substantially large or bulky, but it does have a number of different options that I can choose from. So obviously for me, just having a lighter is always smart. Having some matches is always smart. A ferro rod is pretty standard. And then I have a couple of different tinders in some of these Altoids tins, just depending on what scenario I find myself in. Now for lighting, I'll carry some sort of a headlamp. In this case, I have a Nitecore. This is the HC60. And this little lantern, which is a Luci light. Just a very nice little lightweight solar powered light. Works very well and I highly recommend it. I do have a video on this if you're interested in taking a look at some of the details. Now just a couple of last little details. Here I have a small pouch that basically has myself almost what you'd call like a clothesline. I have some clips on this and it's really nice to string this out at camp for a couple of reasons. One is if I have any wet clothes, this is a great place to hang them. Second is if I just want to help keep myself a little bit organized once I get to camp, it's nice to string this out first, and as I'm unpacking my bag, just gives me a place to kind of clip some things. This is very lightweight, does not take up much space, and just adds a ton of utility while I'm at my campsite. And last but not least, here I have my tripod. It's basically a tripod that I've cut all the legs out of. I've really tried to reduce the weight down to the minimum that I can, just enough to get my camera so that I can do some reviews or get some nice photography while I'm out on the trails. Now what I didn't mention is what I typically do for food. That could go one of a number of ways depending on what I'm doing. I find that a lot of times I try to keep my daytime meals to a minimum, really get some lighter things like granola bars, lighter weight things, trail mix, things like that I can continually munch on. I find a lot of times that where I'm gaining a lot of weight is by bringing things like fruit. I can't help it. I mean, I like fruit, and so I'll bring it with me, but I do know that that adds a lot of extra weight and also bulk. But the reality is, once I eat those, that weight does come off. So, you know, depending on what I'm doing or where I'm going, how strenuous the trip is, I may choose to bring it or not bring it. But in general, in terms of my food, I believe that for my case, that's a place where I can definitely trim some significant weight. So I'm going to try to do that this year. And in that regard also, for my meals at night, I've been trying to make my own dehydrated foods, really get some lighter weight foods, but things that are actually pretty tasty once I get there. So I look forward to my meals and I enjoy them. I don't necessarily want, the traditional backpacking meals. Those to me can be hit or miss. Sometimes they're good, other times they don't quite cook right. They're very expensive. So I've been experimenting with making my own dehydrated foods, and for the most part, it's really been working out pretty well. Okay, so now to give you an understanding of the weight, here I am without the pack, 189. Now I just threw the things in the bag for the example. I did not necessarily pack them up all the way, but everything is in here, and the frame is on my back, 218 even. Now that does not include food or water, but it does have a full fuel canister inside that cook system. So again, that was the bag with all the gear and the frame, and literally everything minus the food and the water. So my system right now is at roughly 29 pounds. I know that is certainly not considered to be lightweight, but for me that's actually pretty good. I have a considerable amount of things in this pack that are considered to be luxury. Certainly I could strip those out. I could go lighter with my tools. I could really reduce some of the redundancy or leave things behind. But for me, I really do want to enjoy my time out in the mountains or, out on these backpacking trips. I do not necessarily want to completely strip back all the things that are not considered to be essential. Someday I might find that I want to crush miles. If that's the case, okay, fine. I'll start to address things at that time. But I think in all things considered, to have some of the luxuries that I have and to get the kit down to a 29-pound kit. Now, granted, for me, I'm probably going to add a solid 12 pounds between the water and food, maybe a little bit more than that. But that still puts me in a pretty nice ballpark with everything being in that low 40-pound range. That's not too bad. So pretty solid. I'm happy with the way this kit is continuing to develop. I know I'll get better and better gear over time. I'll continue to refine it. And you know what? Fact of the matter is, at least I'm going to get out there and I'm going to enjoy myself. So all right, guys. thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.